about that rim of his face?
2-3-3-2 type of guy to defend other teams. Small forward.
Oh, no! Brandon Knight. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, no! It is nothing. It's down by as many as 16 in this game. What a spin move! So-hand the destroyer! Caruso on him, backing in. Continues to go to work with the move and the throwdown. Vicious. Scotty.
Pacers down 5 halfway through the third quarter. Downtown Indianapolis. Turner.
Welcome back, man, to another episode of Past, Present, Future here on the VSN Network. I am your host, Smitty, man, joined by, of course, the usual suspects, Ebony, aka Mad Nick Fan, also my guy, Trippy OG. We have two special guests with us today. Doubling up with him at his place in person is Rob Terrain, and we also got Nick's Talk Raw and Uncut, both VSN family members, more recent additions to the team, but they decided to join us today. As you guys know, last episode we covered the 1996, the illustrious 1996 NBA draft. Probably, I want to say, the deepest draft of all time in terms of how far the depth of talent went. But now we're going to talk about the other one, which is normally put head-to-head against it, and that's the 1984 NBA draft. As you guys know, was the draft of, well, arguably at my GOAT anyway, Michael Jordan, and, you know, thus the story is written. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump into it, and we're going to, let the new folk talk with us and give us their opening thoughts on the draft, and we're going to start it like that, and then we're going to get into some more about, you know, the ins and outs of that draft, and maybe some things that you guys don't know, because that's what we do here on this show. So without further ado, Rob, man, welcome. Thank you for joining us. 1984 draft. Just your first thoughts on that draft, man. Obviously a very special draft. What comes to mind when you think of the 84 draft?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, all you guys. 1984 is a crazy draft. First off, we're going to start out with the GOAT of all GOATs, Michael Jordan.
He's mad. Like you hear, he's so hot.
But
1984, it's Michael Jordan. You love Jordan. I hate you.
Nah, I love Kobe. Kobe's my GOAT. 96, Kobe's my GOAT. But Jordan's everybody's GOAT, and we all know that. First pick was Akeem Olajuwon, which you already know, won 2 championships with Houston Rockets. One of the best centers with the best footwork in the game, and is still teaching young GOATs the footwork.
Dream Shake?
Yep, Dream Shake.
Sure.
Then you got Charles Barkley. Can't forget about Charles. Charles always put in anything.
The round mound of rebound.
Yeah, he was kind of bigger back then.
This man used to eat pizzas, full pizzas, full 12-inch pies by himself before a game.
He came to the city. He was outside like, oh, you know, they got the
stories of him and Jordan gambling.
Oh yeah,
we ain't gonna talk about the game.
Of course, and thanks for that one, Rob. Of course, let's get to Nick's Talk Raw and Uncut, man. Your thoughts on the 1984 draft? What springs to mind first for you? Rob's obviously already mentioned some of the greats that came out of that draft. What springs to mind for you? And maybe you could tell us, being what it was like for you growing up, seeing some of those guys or something, because I'm sure you would have got to see some of those guys, right?
Yes, most definitely. 84 draft, very deep, a lot of Hall of Famers. I see Olympics, I see championships. You know, I see longevity, great things. I didn't see no what's that's called, load management.
Yeah,
that's for sure. It wasn't no load management back then.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
So definitely watching the game, of course. Michael Jordan, my favorite player. Even though I'm a Knicks fan, I had it horrible growing up. You know, with my pops, when the Knicks played the Bulls, I had to be on hush mode. My pops looked at me crazy. Don't even do it if Jordan go crazy on the Knicks. So,
and that would be hard as a kid, right?
Yeah, it was hard as a kid, you know?
Because you just want to see excitement at a young
definitely.
age.
You know what I'm saying? But Jordan, you know what I'm saying, St. Barrett's Gatorade commercials, you know, sneakers and stuff like that. You know, John Stockton, all-time assist leader, record still not broken to this day. You know, Olajuwon, back-to-back championships. You know, Jordan back-to-back championships. Between them, 8 finals. You know, so it's like excellent draft class, man. You know, not to mention, you know, Jerome Kersey, Otis Thorpe. You know, you got a lot of great players that came out that draft, man. It was beautiful. Sam Perkins. You know, it was a beautiful thing watching. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful thing.
No doubt. I appreciate that, man. We are going to get into some of what has been mentioned by both these guys, which has been perfect to set it up. We are going to get a dive deeper into some of those things a little bit as we get into the show. But Ebony, your opening thoughts on the 1984 draft?
How y'all doing? First of all, good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Good to have you, Ron Uncut. Good to have you, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Yeah, I want to say this is the start of my basketball journey. You know, I didn't see the draft, but when they were in their prime, pretty much is when I started, you know, watching basketball. That's actually how I give you a quick story. That's actually how I got into watching NBA. I always played basketball, but actually watching it on TV. My family are big time sports people. They put it on. They took the TV out in a barbecue. And one time the barbecue just stopped. Like me and my cousins looked and we like, what's going on? And like music done, the dancing done, everything is stopped. And they were playing in the playoffs against the Pacers, matter of fact. And Reggie Miller, you know that how that goes. And I don't know exactly the shot, but I know we hit a shot and the whole barbecue just went wild. And then I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Like, I want to get to know why they went wild like that. So, yeah, 84, I guess, is the start of my basketball journey, just because when they were in their prime and things of that nature. Jordan is the reason my team doesn't have a championship. You know, you get what I'm saying? Our best team didn't have a championship.
Right.
So that's what I'm connected, I guess, even though I didn't see it when they were drafted, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We love anecdotes like that, you know, personal stories that sort of link it to. Trippy, man, what about you? What springs to mind for 84 draft? Just the first thoughts.
Well, first, I wasn't even born yet, right?
Of course.
So I slide into when I learn these players. The guy that intrigued me the most, I would have to say, well, it's 2 of them. It would have to be Stockton, and it definitely would have to be Barkley, because Barkley, you could say, is like the first Zion prototype. Like, bro was wild big, but he wasn't like
what, 6'4", right? 6'4", I think.
Yeah, 6'4", yeah. They thought he was 6'8". So
bro,
Barkley's 6'6".
Nah, he was shorter than that.
Yeah, Barkley like 6'4", bro.
He just had wild weight on him, bro.
Yeah, he's small.
No sense why he was moving like that. Then
he had a fast first step. He definitely did.
I mean, look, either way, the point to the fact is that he looked a lot bigger than he was. Height, whatever it is, 6'4", 6'6". This man looked close to 6'10", right? I mean, the way he stood among those trees.
He played, hell yeah.
Definitely. And on top of that, the way John played, it was like, I'm always a pass first guy as I grew up playing ball, you know what I'm saying? Especially with one of my favorite players being Magic Johnson. So to see the rate of, like, I looked at it, I'm like, he was averaging how many assists a game?
Double.
What?
Double, bro.
I didn't even care about that. Who was on his team that was hitting these shots? Like, that's what I want to know. Like,
Jeff Hornacek, Karl Malone.
Oh, just pick, roll,
Pick,
roll.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it right there. Once he said the mailman, my face just, we're gonna leave it right there. But look,
man, he used to feed mailman.
Look, stop bringing it up, bro. Leave it alone. But Smitty, I'm gonna slide it to you. How about you? What about less than What about it?
Yeah, so for me, look, 84, I'm still 10 years off being born, right? So, but this is where, for me, it's a little bit special because I'm on the other side of the world. For those of you who don't know already, you know, I'm on the complete opposite side of the world here in Australia. Now, basketball is a big sport in our country generally, and we actually had, and I think this is off the back of that, why it was so big in this country in general. Not only the international game, or like the NBA game, but our own NBL league, its prime is still considered the 90s, which, you know, like it was a lot of people went to games. Where I'm from, we won a couple championships. My city won a couple championships through that time. But the reach of it pushed our own domestic game. So that's the biggest thing for me. And then, you know, growing up, you watch Space Jam, right, for instance, because right around the time I'm growing up, that's a movie that's really targeted towards my age and such. So you have the influence of Michael Jordan, which is so big, and of course it's tough for me because I got a cousin who's got 11 years on me. He's a Knicks fan. He avoided the he was at that age, I guess, when sort of Michael Jordan really blew up, that he could avoid the following the hype, I guess. His brother, on the other hand, a little bit older, actually didn't and was a Bulls fan. So we had conflict in the family. But yeah, it was tough because I'm so young. Like Uncut said, it's hard not to get excited. Now, for me, I only saw the back end of Jordan's, and I can just sort of remember some of the back end of Jordan's career very, very vaguely. And then obviously I remember the Wizards Jordan as well. But I mean, this guy was so special that for it to have reached, I can still remember vividly though, 5-6 years old. News segments coming on Australian news, like local Melbourne news where I'm from, and they're talking about Michael Jordan. And
Wow.
at that age, that's when, and these games are really hard to watch. We had cable on and off throughout my life. Whenever things were going good, we had some cable. When they weren't, you didn't have cable TV. But when we did, and with my cousin being a little bit more fortunate of a situation, I used to go over his a lot. He used to record a lot of stuff, whatever it was, satellite TV, and like the games, every game was dominated by, like, as in what they would show. So maybe you would get 2 games here a week on cable. Both were going to be Bulls games. So, and we obviously had, an Australian playing there in Chicago, in Luke Longley as well, for that second three-peat around that time. So that definitely drove it a lot as well. But I mean, you never saw Luke Longley on the TV. We're literally getting updates, 6:00 news that night of what Jordan had done that day. And they're talking, and they're showing highlights. And this is a guy on the other side of the world. And, as a kid, you're like, this has to be important. My parents know who he is. I remember my parents at the time actually worked at Spalding. My dad was the warehouse manager. My mum was assistant manager. And coming home with Jordan stuff, even Shaq. And then Shaq, the reach of Shaq is another one that's unbelievable. Different draft, obviously. But yeah, man, we had Jordan stuff in the house. And this is on the other side of the world in the late 90s when you didn't have no social media. You didn't have readily available access to this footage. So insane. It was spoken about like he was a god on the news over here. So for me, man, it's a massive impact. This draft really just brought legends to the game that are still spoken about and revered to this day. And some people will sit there and say, like, I mean, we had guys before him, right, that didn't even get this kind of, I guess, buzz, right, and some really great players. And now in the age where you can go back and watch a lot of that stuff, MJ still takes the throne for probably 95% of the basketball or hoop world, right? So that's what for me is so special about this draft. So that's my opening sort of thoughts on it, man. It was
MJ.
Hey man, them accolades are outrageous.
Yeah, I know.
Bro.
Yeah, and I mean, look, for the time, like you said, the tennis shoes, the Gatorade, like all that stuff. That was another thing. We saw a lot of that over here. Promotional stuff. You walk into a store and there's a MJ cutout. And
I want to be like Mike.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm about to
Everybody
say, I
wants
want to be like Mike.
I want to be like Mike.
So, I mean, look, perfectly marketed as well. But as you said, Uncut, man, shoes. He turned shoes into a global phenomenon. Realistically, sneakers and tennis shoes. He turned, whatever it was, man, whatever he put his name to, it turned to gold as far as brands were concerned. So, yeah, massive impact. But, I digress. Obviously, those are just some of our initial thoughts, guys.